So I wanted to make a video about the open ajna, the open mind, um, and wanted to provide examples of how you can keep your mind busy in regards to if you have an open head, an open ajna. It's really difficult in my own experience. I have this in my own chart, as well as an open throat. Um, but it's really difficult when I first started getting into human design, because that's when I started to trying to make decisions with my sacral or with my body versus looking to my mind. I noticed like there was a lot of triggers in regards to like negative talk, or the mind trying to really get you to like drastically go back to it to make decisions. So that's what you will see is when you start going into your body or your like sacral, whatever your decision maker center is or energy is. You'll start noticing your mind will try to, like, especially if you have an open head or open ajna, it'll try to like, oh, you need to do this, you should be doing this. Oh, like, it'll try to like make decisions for you if you have problems, because it's trying to find solutions to your problems. And I think that is the biggest factor within human design, is that I've noticed in my experience of working within the human design on and off. I did take a year off, but in total I would say that I have been actively in human design. This will be my second year, but like going in and out, because practicing or being in your decision and being in your design is honestly, you're not always going to be actively in it. Just because in my own experience, we need breaks. I mean, I'm a line one, line three. So in my own experience, I kind of delve into it and then I take a step back to kind of experiment, or just to just like see how things unfold, or a time to kind of just like revert back and soak in the information and see what comes through. But in my experience, we're never in human design when you're practicing your actual design. You're not like always constantly on it. Like, I haven't, people say like, oh, I've been practicing this actively for so and so years. And I mean, if you're the type of person that you're able to do that, that's great. But as a line one, line three, I've noticed that I need breaks when I'm divulging into information. And I think that's partially because I just like go into it. And the fact that I have an open head and open ajna, and I'm a line one, um, I think that's the biggest struggle for me, is just like not making decisions with my mind, and I still struggle with it. But I think the biggest takeaway that you can take from this is that your open head, open ajna is actually a power tool for you. You'll notice a lot of people in human design, they will tell you like, oh, your open centers are actually, once you decondition from those centers, they're actually where your gifts come from. That's where you're able to provide your tool sets, where it's where in some cases you can get you profit. And that's because that's where your open centers are. So that's where people come in. That's where you'll get invitations, is through your open centers. Because your defined centers is where you're defined. It's like, you know where you are. It's like that's where you get your energy from. Versus your open centers is where you're seeking in your design, your system, your body is seeking invitations, or is open an invitation. And I want people to start seeing the open head and open ajna as it's actually a great tool. And it's not, I think when we say, oh, like we need to decondition from this center or from this thing, we then see it as bad, like, oh, it's this thing in our design that we can't make decisions from it. So then we see deconditioning as bad, like, oh, that's one part of our design that we can't use because it's not colored in. But recently I've started to change my viewpoint in my open hand, open ajna, because our open hand, open ajna, it's a tool for us. It's like our body, our mind. See your mind as like something that's trying to help you out. So like if it sees there's a issue, like for instance, like, oh, I'm not making enough money, or I'm really struggling like to go paycheck to paycheck and I'd really like to make more money, your mind will then make, or if you're unhappy with your job, your mind will, it's making solutions for you. It's not like trying to like confine you. It's literally just like trying to make solutions for you. It's like, oh, you're not happy with your job, let's go find another job. Or it's like, oh, we can't, like, you want to say it, like, let's do other things. So it's like trying to initiate you to do things. And yeah, we're not supposed to be like initiating with our mind. There's no one design in the human design system that it's like you need to make with your mind. Even manifestors, the point is you're using it through your design centers, your energy, decision making, design strategy, and authority. But the way I see it is like, in order, your mind needs to be stimulated. So if your mind's constantly trying to find solutions, or you're like this negative talk, or just like, we should be doing this, we shouldn't be doing that, is trying to like keep you safe. So if it's your mind, if it's, I mean, as a line 1 investigator, I see this constantly. It's like, and I have 1858, and the 18 is literally about like, it's like called the judgment channel, but it's like constantly finding solutions. I mean, that's not connected with the mind, that's connected with like the spleen and the root center. But within my own design, I see that constantly, where the mind is like literally trying to help you out. Like, I think we see the deconditioning centers as like the bad guy, like, oh, like we have to like control and not be influenced by other people. But the point is, like, these centers can actually be a gift to you if you're able to like not see it as the bad guy. Like, for instance, like the ego in spirituality isn't a bad guy. The point isn't to like separate so much from your open centers that then like, because that's when it gets bad. Like, that's when it starts, like they start coming in, because they're like, what the fuck, like, it's like a child, an inner child that's like not being listened to. So it's like, oh, now you don't need me, like, what the fuck, bro? And it's then it starts like getting escalated out of fear, because it's like, but for me, I see the mind as like, it's something that needs to be stimulated. So like ways that you can, if you're getting like a lot of negative talk, or like the deconditioning, the conditioned open head and open ajna is really coming through to you, where it's like, oh, you should be doing this, like, and all these thoughts, I would recommend like make lists. Make lists. As an investigator, I like to research topics a lot. I mean, that just comes from my line 1. But if the actual point is to give your mind something to do. Now, this doesn't mean, oh, like your mind is going to just like need anything to do. No, your mind is complicated. So like your open head and open ajna, you need to give it actually something sustainable to do, like something it's going to be like, oh yeah, this is worth it. Like, your mind isn't a child, or it isn't like this, like you're giving it like this small task and it's gonna be like, oh, okay. No, your mind is going to see through the bullshit. Maybe this is my own design, like my own channels that I have, but for me, I can't have something that just to fill in my mind. Like my mind will be like, really? No, we're not doing that. Like that's fucking stupid. We know you're trying to just like quiet us, and that's not gonna fucking work. So you have to give it something that like you're actually excited about, or like you're actually interested in. So like make lists. This could literally be like grocery lists. This could be like things you need to do. This could be like if you're looking for a job, make lists of jobs. You could do like mind mapping. If you're like going through something, you could literally like looking for a job, you could look for like things that would make you money, or like start connecting things, and then it will give your open head and open ajna. It will then be like, okay, we're finding a solution, and it'll quiet down. You can then use like writing as a really good to like give your mind a way to just clear it out. So just like have a junk journal where you're just like writing everything down, or just like a journal in general. But the point is, it's not about making the journal pretty, it's just like getting everything out. So it's not like you're writing about your day. You're literally just getting everything from your mind, all the insecurities, all the shoulds, woulds, and just putting it in a page to just clear out your mind, so your mind feels it is doing something for you. And then another factor is you could do like mind games, not like mind games, but like puzzles to stimulate your mind. This could be jigsaw puzzles. This could be like games on your phone, just to like get your mind. The point is to keep your mind preoccupied, but not in a sense of just like a mundane task, like actually stimulate and your mind is actually engaged. So mind games are really good, like word puzzles, or just like anything you're interested in where your mind is in like engrossed in the task. For me, this could be like painting. Something that's really good is like learning something new. So if you're interested in something and you're like having all these thoughts, and then you're like you feel like you're going crazy, then like learn something new. This could be learn a new language, because that's using the mind. Learn like painting, learn like, it's like literally take whatever you're interested and learn a new aspect of it, or just learn something entirely new that you're actually interested in, because the mind is complicated. I feel like people don't give the mind and the open ajna enough credit, because once we're able to clear the deconditioning, we get a lot of power from the mind. Because like if you have an open head and open ajna, you'll start realizing like all the thoughts you have aren't actually yours. Like if you're in a room, so it's almost like reading people's thoughts, because if you have an open head and open ajna, you're open to other people's insecurities. So like going into a social situation, if you're calm and then you go into it and you're getting all these thoughts, that's technically like you're getting other people's like pressures. If they have defined minds, then you're getting other people's pressures. And if it's not deconditioned, if you haven't deconditioned, then you take it on as your own. This goes with like solar plexus. If you have an undefined solar plexus and you go into a space, or even when you're watching like movies or social media or TikTok and you're suddenly feeling emotional, take a moment to just like ground yourself. And this is especially helpful if you have a defined root. Ground yourself and ask yourself, like, it's like, oh, what was I feeling this before, or am I feeling someone else's emotion and then I'm taking it on as my own? And this is where we get a lot of anxieties. And so to like keep the mind busy, you could write like a blog, write, just like write about anything you're interested in. This is to keep the mind just like engaged, like sustainable engagement, not just like, oh, just do this thing so you shut the fuck up. No, the mind has a power, and I think we should respect it as such and not see it as like this bad thing that's always trying to intrude in and disrupt us of using our actual like designed strategy and authority. It's there to be a power tool for us, and the deconditioning aspect is understanding, being grateful that it's there, because it can show you when you go into a room like how the room's environment of like the insecurities of other people, and as well as like being just like, okay, thank you, I see the problem. And you can even just like write all the things that come up for you in a journal, and then just so your mind feels like it's stimulated, that it knows like, okay, you're listening to me, at least it's written down, and you're taking the active step to actually write it down. That's the action, to listen to me, and that I'm still a part of the decision making, even if you don't actually actively listen to the mind. It's just a really good way to start to like recognize that it is trying to help you, but that you don't have to listen to it. Because I've noticed when I started getting into human design, I wouldn't listen. I was like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. And then that's when thoughts would come. It became more intense, which open Ajna, if you learn about human design, if you're an open center person, whatever open centers you have, and the other person have those centers defined, it amplifies that. So you either amplify that in that person, or their own defined centers are actually amplified in you. And then when you walk away from that experience, it all disappears, and you're just like, well, what the fuck? And so then you keep going back to that person, because their defined centers are amplifying that energy in you, and you have to truly decondition and realize like that's coming through from everyone around you, and your actual energy is what you bring into the world is your defined centers. What other people bring into your world is your undefined centers. That's what like you're open to. That's why it's called like open centers. Anyway, I hope this helps someone else who struggles with the open head, open ajna, and who definitely has the line 1, because I think that's why the open head and open ajna is so amplified for me. Just because, yeah, hope it helps.